In all these years that live streaming has been a thing, one very key constant that hasn't changed even with the actual structure of the streaming community itself changing over time is that if you really want really good quality for your face cam for your streams, you usually have to pay a premium for something like a DSLR or mirrorless camera. That's not to say there aren't quality options out there for the fraction of the price of what a DSLR or mirrorless camera will cost. It's considering the fact that you have types of cameras such as the C922, which has been a main go-to for live streamers, for the longest time, as well as some other contenders over the years, such as the Razer Kio and Logitech's other predecessors to the C922, such as the C920 and its descendants in regards to the Brio and the Logitech StreamCam. The key issue with a lot of these webcams that have come and gone over the years is that most of them aren't really catered towards streaming. Some, exclusions would be Razer's Kio webcam, which I myself have used in the past, but didn't really kind of fit my fancy as much as the C922, which has been the camera I've been using for the past 4 years I've been streaming. But another thing is that when you look at things such as the DSLR mirrorless cameras, they're not really catered towards streaming, not only at all, but you usually need something like an Elgato Cam Link to even get them running in a fashion as a webcam where you can use them for your streams. Plus, there's the fact that you're paying about $500 to $1,000 for this camera that has extra features that honestly you're never really going to use for streaming anyway. Thankfully, AverMedia may have come out with somewhat of a solution here, given what I've heard of this particular webcam. That said, I'm Masquemare Rogues, and today I'm going to be giving you guys an unboxing as well as a review of the AverMedia PW513 streaming webcam. So starting off this video, one thing I want to point out for this camera is that apparently I didn't actually know this at first. So this is actually a 4K camera. I knew that it went to 60 FPS and 1080p, but as it says right here on the side, it says max resolution 38 by 40 by 2160 at 30 FPS. So this kind of makes me think of the C922 in a way, in that the C922 was able to do 60 FPS and 720p, and this one kind of steps it up to where it's 1080p and 60 FPS, but then it goes a step further, being a 4K camera that can do like half the frames at 30 frames per second. Not like really any streamer I really think would need to actually have a 4K face cam, so that would be more along the lines probably, for something that'd be really good for YouTube videos. And it's not like I really have to do that, just one little incision right there. Rip it on open. Let's see what we got in regards to what all comes in the box. So, AverMedia website is upgraded to latest PW13 firmware and cam engine application software. Okay, yeah, so that confirms what I originally had heard, which is that it has its own software, of course. So one thing I point out here at the base is that this camera actually is a pretty big boy. Holy hell, that is. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely in a major contrast compared to once I can actually kind of over here, because kind of trying to do this best I can. A little technical difficulty here because I actually have my cables all thing to kind of do right here. Just look at the size difference in this compared to this. I mean, it's more width than anything, but yeah, this is definitely a bigger camera compared to my C922. But also kind of just looking at a glance, so the thing right here is, I don't know if it's actually fully segmented in multiple ways like the other one is, but of course it has the thing on the bottom where you can put it on a separate webcam mount. And another thing I really liked about what I heard about this is that it has a little privacy shutter as well, so you can just kind of flip that, and that of course makes it where the lens is completely covered. And also one other thing I heard about this, and I think it's amazing right here, is the fact that it swivels on the mount. So instead of you having to turn the entirety of your monitor to get a different angle and such, because obviously moving your monitor to the left, angling it to the left or right would change the perspective of the webcam. All you gotta do here is just pretty much do that from the base. So I think that's a definite plus in itself. Move that over. Okay, and yeah, so the cord in itself is a USB Type 3 or a USB 3.0 with a USB Type C, so that obviously is going to contribute to the factor of, I mean, for one thing, I kind of like the concept of having a webcam with a detachable cord like this. It would make it easier for traveling around and such. But satisfying little click there. And the only issue with this, of course, is that if by chance you lose the cord, you won't be able to use the webcam. And Type C cords tend to be a little bit less common around my household, because most of what I've used is just standard micro USB cords over the years. but that could be a slight dilemma. But at the same time, I understand that, you know, for it to have like the maximum amount of, you know, frame rate and such, it would have to have an actual more beefy type of cord to go to it. So again, like for the ease of actually being able to travel around, I mean, I just like the concept of it, you know, being a detachable cord, but at the same time, it's also gonna be problematic because someone loses the cord and it makes it where they can't use the webcam. But overall, and at least the cord itself seems like it's pretty, you know, standard quality. It's not really too like bendable. It's pretty rigid. So I mean, this guy have to have like a little bit of it's not, you know, it's just not as flimsy as, you know, a cord probably normally would be. Okay, and the last thing in the box is the instruction manual, me would assume. So yeah, it don't really seem like a whole lot to it. Just yeah, all this is just like the different languages. So there's really like not a whole lot of setup stuff here. It's just like a really quick guide. So number 1, microphone, 2, privacy shutter, 3, lens, power indicator, solid blue in use, off non use. So it has like a little, I can't remember if my, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that my C922 had like a little ring around it, like, you know, white lights to show that it was in use. So this one just has a little, it's like just like a little dot. So you have to kind of like pay a little more attention to it to see if it's actually, yeah, it would be like right about there. So compared to you having like a couple of, you know, white rings around the base of the cam, with this one you have to kind of pay attention, like to see if you had that little blue light to know if it's working properly. And it has a tripod attachment and information there. Yeah, so obviously this is going to benefit from being put into a USB Type 3 port. I would assume if you try to put in like a 2.0 or something like that, it either won't work, or at most it'll just have like a really choppy frame rate, and if it even actually can go into 4K at all and such. And this device does not require driver installation, which is good. Because originally I was worried because I thought like the cord itself was going to be like USB Type C on both ends, which my motherboard to my monitor, you know, has that. But I meant motherboard to my monitor. I meant motherboard to my computer. But yeah, it says right here max frame rate 30 FPS and 3840 by 2160, 60 FPS and 1920 by 1080. And part of me was wondering if there would be a possibility that it would run like maybe 120 and 720, but I doubt that would be the case. Just as much as running a 4K face cam for a live stream isn't exactly a good idea. Probably I feel like there's really no point to it. I really feel like there wouldn't really be much point to having a 120, you know, FPS frame rate, you know, for your face cam either. So as we did with the Oculus Quest 2, I'm going to be taking the time to go through and do some tests on this. I'm going to be testing out the microphone. I'll be doing some video recordings for the 720, 1080, and the 4K. And then I'll be giving you guys a full-on review of this, you know, in regards to the resolutions in comparison to my C922, as well as, you know, my other takes on it, you know, if any need apply. So before we move on, there's something else I kind of want to speak on as far as, you know, this webcam is concerned, and that's this right here. Let me get a little bit closer. Like, you hear like how decent the mic quality is on this? I mean, I've, you know, had like, you know, several webcams over the years, and most of them didn't really have like the best mic, but this one right here, you know, that's without filters. So think about how it actually probably would be if you did like put some audio filters in there, like maybe noise compression, things like that. I mean, it's obviously nowhere near like the level of the Yeti or even the Snowball probably, and especially isn't anywhere near the level of the XLR mic like the Audio-Technica 2020, you know, with a decent, you know, sound mixer. But still, I would say this, you know, just the mic on this thing is actually still phenomenal to where, let's say you don't have a headset mic or you don't have a Yeti or any other type of USB microphone, this still would probably be like, you know, somewhat of a solid little substitute, you know, as a placeholder in the event that maybe a mic you have gets broken or, you know, you lose it or whatever. So that in itself, I think, is like, you know, really speaks on the quality of this webcam. So that being said, we're going to go and move on to the image quality stuff, since I did actually do some recordings for, you know, 720 and 1080p. So you guys got to get a little bit of comparison of that, you know, side by side with my C922's quality. Also, keep in mind that I did have to, you know, tweak a few settings, and I know that I could do a lot more with this to try to make the image look a lot better. But again, I just want to do like some bare minimum stuff, you know, for the sake of just, you know, doing this little review and unboxing. So as you can see right here, we're doing a side by side of the C922 versus the PW513 in 720 60 FPS, which is the highest that both can do in 720 through OBS. And one thing to point out here, of course, is the fact that the PW513 has a much wider range to it. Like, even though I did crop both of them to, you know, fit inside of my face cam overlay here, the fact is the PW513 definitely like has, you know, is able to capture a whole lot more, you know, of my room all around me, you know, and again, this is with it being even cropped still. So just kind of like, it really does kind of give like a lot more, I guess the word would be like, I guess just full on range compared to like how everything with the C922 looks kind of like really extremely boxed in and just, I don't know if compressed would be the word, but overall it just overall catches like, you know, a whole lot more of my room all around me. And I'm probably even gonna go in and do a complete redo of my face cam overlay to be able to capture more of my room, considering how nice this looks. So here we have the 1080p, and for this I kind of like switched things up a little bit. I did, you know, quite a few output captures for this, considering that I wanted to size things up to like a full screen. I didn't do this with 720p because obviously it would have been like really pointless since my monitor outscales the 1080p. So trying to upscale like a 720, you know, image output really would not have looked that good, you know, trying to double up the scale on it, you know, to aspect ratio that's twice its size. So as you can see here, I did captures for the, you know, 1080p for the C922, 30 frames per second for that, as well as 30 frames per second with the PW513, just kind of match like the max that the C922 was able to do. And then I went on and tested out the 1080p by 60 FPS that the PW513 is capable of, which of course the C922 can't. And finally after that, you know, doing like the little picture-in-picture, you know, like for my face cam for my streams, I went in and did a similar thing with a full screen of them. And one thing I did kind of notice, it does seem like the 60 FPS for the 1080p and a full screen view definitely did kind of take a little bit of a hit to the quality. But overall, still, the quality of it was a lot better than my C922. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm by no means whatsoever a webcam whisperer. I'm nowhere near as qualified, I would say, to speak out on things in regards to comparing, you know, webcams, since I'm not the most versed on things like, you know, image quality, you know, and comparing mics and things like that. You know, there are plenty of YouTubers out there who are much better at that kind of thing, you know, because they probably like spent like years, probably even like few decades, you know, coming to understand things like that. So this is more along the lines of just a general comparison from my own personal experience in regards to, was the, you know, upgrade to the PW513, you know, worth it for me? And I definitely say it was. But speaking of my own personal perspective on price versus performance, make sure you don't try to say that 5 times fast, on if the PW513 is worth $250. Like personally, I really do feel that if you're just gonna be using this solely as a streaming webcam, just to, you know, use it solely for face cam purposes, then it probably best off just stick to like a C922, because while it, like as I showed, there definitely were increases to image quality, you know, to, you know, by a landslide. My viewpoint on it is that, you know, for something as simple as just using it for the sake of having a little picture-in-picture, you know, C922 definitely does that well. Yeah, like you'll feel probably a little more boxed in, but for a functionality just like, you know, for a streaming webcam in that regard, I really do feel that, you know, $250 is a little bit steep. Though at the same time, I did get this on sale on Amazon for $200 at the time. So if you are looking to get this webcam, be it for just as a solely streaming one or other purposes, which I'll be mentioning in just a second, you know, I would at least say, you know, see if you can find this on sale. This camera obviously is much more tailored towards live streaming compared to other webcams out there. They're more along the lines of like generalized use, namely for businesses like conference calls and, you know, maybe connecting with family over long distances and things like that. But at the same time, I just really do feel like 250 is a bit steep to an extent. I mean, you have like the Razer Kiyo Pro, which as someone who used the Razer Kiyo and wasn't the most impressed with it, you know, trying to be a bit unbiased here, but, you know, it really just didn't really work that well for me. Everything I've seen on the Razer Kiyo Pro, it's at default $200. It seems, you know, $200. It does seem like it's a pretty substantial upgrade compared to what the Razer Kiyo was. So that's something else I would say is a really good option to look into. But if you're going to be using the AverMedia 513 as a more generalized use camera for, you know, other things, here's the reason why I say that $250 actually is a pretty nice middle ground. The reason why I say middle ground is because the AverMedia 513 it definitely has like a lot of functionality to it that makes it better, and yet at the same time also worse in some ways than cheaper webcams out there. But at the same time, there's also qualities to it that makes it better and yet also worse than, you know, mirrorless and DSLR cameras out there. And so kind of like going by that, the pros to the AverMedia PW513 compared to others like the C922 and things, like one I already showed was like the image quality and such. You know, it has that, it has functions to it that definitely, you know, are more tailored towards like what streamers have probably been wanting and needing in webcams. Some pluses too is the fact you can rotate it around and kind of like do the whole thing with like the privacy shutter and stuff like that. And another plus to it is that I found that the software, which I haven't really gone into, but I'm going to in just a second, really did kind of shine compared to, Logitech's own webcam-based software they use, in the sense that the AverMedia Cam Studio, I think is what it's called, it had like a lot more you can do with it, and from what I could tell, it seemed like the settings are actually persistent, though I haven't tested out if the settings, for the camera will stay static, through OBS in between computer reboots. Overall, it's just that this is a camera that's based more towards streamers compared to other cameras out there that have streamer, friendly perks to them, but aren't entirely actually based towards being an actual streaming webcam. The cons, in regards to this compared to other cameras out there, they're much cheaper, is just that, in my view, the fact this camera is $250. Now, in regards to what I feel makes this better, but also worse than a DSLR or mirrorless camera, going through the cons first is that obviously you're not going to get as good of image quality out of this as you would with a DSLR or mirrorless cam. And, in the end, that's basically like one of the main flaws there. Like if you really want absolutely phenomenal, much more crisp quality, you're gonna probably have to get like a mirrorless or DSLR camera. But still, for what this one does, it still gives pretty good image quality in my view. Which again, like right there is like one of the pros. And another pro to this is that this is where the cost kind of goes in the other direction. That compared to this camera being, I feel, a bit too pricey. At the same time, I feel like the price is kind of like, more plausible when you're getting this camera that has features you're definitely going to use, and those you don't use, in regards to live streaming, you may use them later on. But that's comparison, you spending like, what, $300 more, maybe even possibly like upwards to $800 more for a DSLR mirrorless camera that is more catered towards photography and videography, and thus probably some features you're never even going to really use with a webcam. And there's the fact that, outside of that, you also would have to probably spend like $120 or so to get an Elgato Cam Link, assuming that the camera you got doesn't have some form of native, webcam technology already, added to it, such as the case with, I think, like some recent Nikon and Canon cameras. It might have just been Nikon that did it. I think it was Canon and Nikon. Don't quote me on that. So in that, I feel like the AverMedia as a generalized use webcam, not just for streaming, but also, not just as a streaming face cam, but one you're going to be using like as a full screen, face cam, like maybe like, for intermission screens, like when you're just chatting with your audience. And more so what I'm going to be using it for, like I'm doing right here, using it as an actual camera to do vlogs on YouTube and such. I really feel like that in itself really does kind of justify $250 range. I mean, it's still pricey, it's still premium level camera, but you're getting like some premium level quality as far as the video output. So in regards to recommending this camera, I definitely would, but at the same time, if you're a streamer that's just starting out, I personally would feel like, again, with the price of this camera being a bit up there, I would say, this is the reason why I say that the C922 is still a really solid starting streaming cam, as well as one for the foreseeable future, because the C922 is like around maybe like what, like $100. You could use like the extra $150 you would have spent on this camera right here to go and get yourself like panels, commissioned for your Twitch or Glimmers channel or whatever. You could go and put that towards getting like a decent microphone. There's other things you could use like $150, for if you just kind of like just get like a less expensive webcam. Because I know some would probably like see the quality of this and think, oh, they can start out with this in streaming and it might give them an edge. But then there's the fact that even if you got this camera and you're starting out, you probably still have to get lighting, again, possibility of you not having a mic. So again, better to just kind of get like a $100 camera, use another $150, on lighting, a mic, and possibly trying to get some commissions done for panels, and things like that. So as someone, as if you're a streamer who's actually been at this for a bit and maybe wanted to upgrade but not pay a premium, like in regards to like a DSLR mirrorless cam, I definitely say this would be a good option. But for someone who's just starting out, I'd say stick with a C922, maybe even just go with a C920, because you don't necessarily need a 60 FPS thing, and that's the only difference with the C920 and C922. And the fact that one allows you to do like 60 FPS and 720, while the other, which is C920, only allows 30 FPS and everything. But either one of those cameras will still be fine, and if you're a new streamer trying to figure out what camera to get, I'll have a link for those in the description of this video to kind of point you towards them, so you can kind of like, you know, see for yourself like which one of those you want. All right, guys, so I kind of switched gears a little bit right here. I'm now using my Yeti to do my voice recording, and I switched over to Livestreamer Cam 513 Cam Engine. I know I called it Cam Studio. Don't at me. Minor mistake. You know, don't come out with your pitchforks and such. I'll fight you. Anyways, as you guys can see here, I just kind of like really like the interface of this. I didn't really tinker around with this a whole lot aside from just kind of going in and tweaking a few settings on the camera, as you can see right here, which I guess they didn't really stay persistent. Again, I wanted to try to, I mean, I don't know if they actually, I think you can save settings on this. It's mainly OBS. I want to test out to see if the camera settings actually will stay persistent. But as you can see here, they have like all these the standard tabs you have, like, you know, for sharpness, saturation, hue, contrast, and brightness. But they also have this advanced tab over here, and this is something I'm kind of like really think is pretty cool in the sense that, you know, you can do like a zoom from right here, panning and everything. It don't seem like I've really actually figured out how to actually get that to work yet. Put that back to 0. Same with tilt. Exposure, I actually had this turned off. Okay, it seemed like that kind of reset something right there. But, you know, yeah, as you can see, most of this is me just kind of like tinkering around, showing you like the settings and such. Mainly how I kind of did things earlier is I kind of like, you know, just mess around with the gain a little bit. And as I said, I do definitely need to go in and kind of like get much more acquainted per se with the settings in here until I find something that definitely works for me. I mean, I really think like what I showed in OBS kind of worked okay, but I know I can do more. So they have like filters. They actually have like that thing where you can do like smoothing and, you know, and skin tone, which I haven't really seen too much this really changes. It does seem like there's like some kind of like really subtle thing. And smoothing is basically like face beautify, like you see like, you know, when you do filters like on, I guess, Snapchat or TikTok or whatever. And effects, I haven't messed with this either. It seems something like, you know, I don't know if this means you actually can get yourself sort of like a VTuber avatar or something like that. That's what I would think. It says you can transform into a character. So that seems pretty interesting. I'm actually going to see how this works real quick. Okay, so while that's doing its thing, I'm going to go ahead and kind of, because, you know, like I said, I don't really feel comfortable going through here without actually kind of looking into everything. So that's doing that. This right here, I guess this is probably where you can maybe save presets. I don't know, it seems to me like it's kind of, oh, I think I know what this might be. I think this is actually some sort of auto panning function. So, because you see right there, it kind of like moved around very slowly. I wonder if I think that actually might be a means to do like, you know, dynamic panning and zooming and things like that. So yeah, I definitely would kind of like go in and I'm probably gonna definitely go in and try that out like a little bit more and see if I can apply that to my streams in some way. And of course you can do like the zoom up here. Actually, I think I got it figured out now. Okay, so let's see if we do a zoom like that and then we do like this. So I'm assuming there may be a way to probably put these on some kind of a thumb, like on some kind of keybind. So that way, if you kind of go through and try to, you know, I do like these little dynamic things to see like these kind of shift around. So yeah, this definitely is something else I really can't wait to actually try out. Also, I think like my internet's slow right here. I mean, the reason it's doing this is because my internet has been slow lately. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up for you guys real quick. All right, guys. So I kind of like was toying around with the EPTZ a little bit right here while I was waiting on this thingy over here. Where was it? To okay, so that's what that was. So that actually was like a. I'll show you guys that in a second since I just downloaded that. So what I actually found out was that there was a menu up there, like, you know, right here through this cog, where I can go to hotkey and I can actually set up, you know, do these. And with that, if I do control and then like whichever F1 or F2, it actually does switch over like that. So I really do see like what this could be used for is, say, let me get that out of y'all's face. Sorry. I feel like this could actually really be used really well if I had like hotkey functions like this set up through my Elgato Stream Deck. And there's like this thing here for enable AI framing. AI framing. I tried that a little bit. I tried that as well, but couldn't really get it to work properly. I'm assuming that it says auto adjust the frame to speech. Let me see. Testing. Okay, I guess not. I was figuring maybe what it is that it actually would. I mean, there is like a function that I can do, but I'm assuming that what this means is that it's kind of like panning around weirdly for some reason. I'm thinking it maybe if like, if I have it set up properly, if I talk or whatever, it actually could zoom in, things like that.
but I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably do a separate video once I get more acquainted with like using this. But for now, like, we're gonna go over to this. So enable face effects. So I'm assuming this is, yep, it's definitely like Snapchat. Okay, and I expect that. So yeah, this actually is something you can would be really cool for streams as well, in the sense that you can have like, okay, that's very 70s of you. So they have like actual filters you can use right here. Like technically, there's a filters right over there, but this is actually like some somewhat low-key Snapchat stuff. So yeah, that's something that I think is actually pretty cool right here as well. They have like some actual face filters, face effects, and the fact that this thing right here, just with like a few like hotkey things, you actually can switch around the, switch your camera around. And overall, it's just, this does seem like a nice, fun little like camera software thing to kind of just tinker around with. So I think that's kind of like a nice bonus to this as well, because I had to download this when I first installed my camera. I had to download this little two-step folder thing from the site. If you guys plan on getting this, I'll go ahead and link that in the description of this video for you as well. Let me turn this off. Jesus. But I'll link that in the description of the video as well, so you guys will know exactly how to update the camera's firmware, as well as install the cam engine right here, so you'll have all that ready for when you want to use your camera. So overall, I'm really excited about the opportunities it's going to bring. I'm going to go ahead and probably start working on making a new face cam overlay and some other stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to do prior without having like a 1080 like with like a camera like with this wide field of range like this, let alone possibly like a 1080 output and things. I'm just really excited about like the stuff that's gonna bring to my streams moving forward. I can't wait to share that with you guys. But anyways, that being said, rogues, as always, in the closing of this video, if you guys need help with streaming, that's the wrong, actually it's the right one. If you guys need help with like setting up streaming, like if you're just starting out, I got a whole list of guides right here for you all to check out, if needed. And also, if you guys like this video, want to see more from me, be sure to follow me here on YouTube, subscribe, make sure you ring that bell, so that way you'll be in the know whenever I do new stream highlights, whenever I bring you guys new tutorials, or I bring you more unboxings and possible tech reviews, as well as reviews of other stuff like this. So anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for coming out and watching, and I'll see you guys later.